A cashier helps a teenage mother in need and gets fired the next day. A helicopter arrives at his house. But who sent that helicopter and why? Welcome to the History of Empathy channel. Today we're going to tell the story of Jake, a young cashier who decided to help a teenage mother in trouble and ended up experiencing an unbelievable turn of events that began with an act of kindness and ended with a helicopter landing on his street. It was supposed to be just another exhausting shift behind the counter. The repetitive beep of the scanner, the smell of stale coffee during the 10 a.m. break, and lines that seemed endless. But that day, something different happened. Jake, an ordinary grocery store cashier in a small American town, had no idea his life would change because of a simple choice. He noticed the woman before she even reached the register. She was holding a baby, her clothes wrinkled, her eyes tired. For someone so young. Jake also noticed how she looked at the items on the shelf, not with hunger, but with calculation. Every cent seemed to matter. When her turn came, she placed only diapers, milk, and 2 cans of soup on the conveyor belt. She had a shy smile, but Jake could see the nervousness in her trembling hands. "That'll be $22.75, he said, trying to sound light. She swallowed hard. "I think I can only take this," she said, pushing one can back. Jake hesitated for a second. He looked into her eyes, then at the baby, without overthinking. He discreetly swiped his own card. "It's all good," he said with a small smile. She froze, surprised. "But you don't have to. Sometimes we just need a little help," he replied. She stood still, silent. Then, with teary eyes, she thanked him. "My name's Lily. You don't know how much this means to me." Jake just nodded, feeling something strange in his chest, a mix of peace and unease. That night, he told his mom what happened over dinner. She smiled but warned him, "Jake, the store has rules. You need to be careful." He knew that, but for some reason, he didn't regret it one bit. The next day, as soon as he walked into the store, the manager called him in. The office was quiet, cold. "Jake, we know what you did with that customer yesterday," he tried to explain. But the response was blunt. "You broke protocol. You're fired. Good luck." Jake left with his badge still in his pocket and his heart in pieces. How could something so small, so human, cost so much? He walked to his car like he was carrying the weight of a mistake that didn't feel like one. He spent the day at home, lying down, unable to eat. He thought about the child, the young mother, and whether he made a real difference. Was she okay? Had his gesture at least gotten her what she needed? Late that afternoon, his mom burst into his room. "Jake, there's a helicopter landing on the street." He thought she was joking, until he heard the noise loud, steady, real. He ran to the window and saw neighbors pouring out, phones in hand, filming. Within seconds, the street was packed with onlookers. A man in a suit and dark sunglasses stepped out of the helicopter, flanked by 2 people carrying briefcases. They headed straight for his house. Jake's heart raced like never before. What the hell is going on? When they opened the door, the man spoke firmly. "Are you Jake Collins?" He nodded, confused. "We received your name last night. A story reached us. A simple but powerful story." Still not understanding, Jake just nodded. The man handed him an envelope. "Someone told us what you did. Someone very influential. And we want to talk to you about an offer that could change your life." What seemed like a lost day was only just beginning. Jake stared at the envelope like it was a bomb about to go off. His hands were sweaty, his mind a whirlwind. He was still reeling from the helicopter, the suited man at his door. And now, a proposal. "Come in," he said, almost in a whisper. The 3 visitors sat in the simple living room, no frills. The man in sunglasses took them off and introduced himself. "My name's Mark Whitman. I work with a foundation focused on social impact initiatives. What you did yesterday moved us deeply." Jake was still trying to wrap his head around it. "But I just paid for some diapers." Mark gave a slight smile. "Exactly. You had no obligation. You knew you could get in trouble. And yet, you chose to help. People like you are rare, Jake." That's why we're here. The woman beside Mark opened the envelope. This is a letter of recommendation for the Youth for the Future program. It's an education and professional training initiative for young people with potential for moral and empathetic leadership. Jake's eyes widened. We want you to come with us to Chicago, Mark continued. The program starts in 2 weeks. It includes a full scholarship, housing, and a network of mentors. But more than that, we want to put you in a position where you can do this help on a larger scale. Jake looked at his mom. She stood in the hallway, eyes teary, hands over her chest, as if holding her heart in place. It was a lot to process, but inside, something screamed, "This is real. I don't know what to say." Jake mumbled. Mark stood up. "You don't need to say anything now. Read it, think it over. But know this, your quiet courage yesterday changed more than you realize, and it can change even more." After they left, Jake stood in the living room, the envelope in his trembling hands. He opened it carefully, almost like it was something sacred. The words jumped out. "We are thrilled to welcome you among those who not only see others but act." That night, he couldn't sleep. He kept thinking of Lily's look, the baby, the moment he decided to swipe his card. He wondered, how many people face situations like that every day? How often does the world turn its back? The next morning, Jake went to the supermarket, not to return to work, but to see if he could find Lily. Part of him just wanted to know if she was okay. Another part maybe wanted to thank her for everything that choice had set in motion. He sat on a bench out front for hours. Nothing. No sign of her. But then, just as he was about to leave, he heard a baby's cry from the parking lot. It was her. Tired, but standing. The same gentle look. Only now. Lighter. Jake approached, shyly. She smiled the moment she saw him. "Jake? My God, you don't know what happened after that day." He smiled back. "I don't think you do either." And then, they stood there, silent for a moment, as if the universe had paused. Lily shared that a stranger had paid for her and her son to stay in a decent shelter. And after the story spread online, she received donations and messages of support. But what stuck with me most was you, because you were the first to see me. Jake didn't know how to respond, because deep down, all he did was feel that someone needed him and not ignore that feeling. Now, that small gesture had become a bridge to something much bigger. Jake and Lily talked for over an hour, like old friends. It was strange how the people who barely knew each other could share such a genuine connection. But maybe what bound them wasn't time, it was pain, and the desire to overcome it. He told her about the helicopter, the foundation's offer, the program in Chicago. Her eyes widened, she covered her mouth, then laughed in disbelief. "You're telling me you got fired, and the next day a helicopter landed on your street to offer you a future?" Jake just nodded. "My God, it's like a movie." He shrugged, smiling. "Yeah, but a movie that starts with diapers and canned soup." Lily laughed with him, but her smile soon faded. "Jake, I wish I could repay what you did for me." "You already have," he said sincerely. "Just seeing you here, with your son doing okay, makes it all worth it." She looked at him, eyes shining, as if hearing that for the first time in her life. In the days that followed, Jake prepared for the trip. He filled out forms, joined online meetings, and packed a small suitcase with his mom's help. Each step felt like a dream, but it was real. He was going to Chicago. Before leaving, he made a point to say goodbye to Lily. They met again on the bench outside the supermarket. She brought her baby, now a bit older, smiling more. Jake knelt in front of him. "Hey, champ, take good care of your mom, okay?" Lily handed him an envelope. "Don't open it now. Wait until you're on the plane." He accepted it with a smile, holding the paper like a childhood treasure. They hugged tightly, long, as if they knew this moment was rare and precious. At the airport, as the plane taxied down the runway, Jake finally opened the envelope. Inside was a handwritten letter. "Jake, you didn't just save my day. You saved my faith in people. If the world is more like you, my son has a future." He closed his eyes, swallowing the lump in his throat. Outside, The sky was cloudy, but inside him, something shone with a new intensity. For the first time, he felt he had a purpose, that his story was just beginning. In Chicago, Foundation volunteers welcomed him. Everything felt surreal. The facilities, the buildings, the vibrant atmosphere. Jake, the former cashier from a small town, was now part of something far bigger. Something he never imagined he'd reach. In the first weeks, he dove into training on community leadership, active empathy, and communication. He discovered skills he never knew he had. He also heard stories like his young people who took a brave step and were seen. During one lecture, he was invited to share his story. On stage, he trembled inside but spoke from the heart. He talked about the ordinary day, the woman with the baby, the choice to help, and then the firing and the helicopter. The audience rose in applause, not because the story was perfect, but because it was real. It mirrored so many who do the right thing quietly, expecting nothing in return. Yet sometimes, they're rewarded in surprising ways. Jake left the stage with tears in his eyes. A mentor stopped him in the hallway. "You know what's most impressive about your story? It wasn't the helicopter. It was the simplicity of your act. Sometimes, the most powerful kindness is the one no one told you to do." That night, Jake sat alone in the Foundation's dorm, staring out the window. The city lights twinkled like artificial stars. He thought about everything that had happened and what was still to come. He felt grateful, but also responsible. Days later, he got an unexpected message from Lily. "We're okay. I got a job. Found a small apartment. I'm starting over." Jake smiled. It filled his chest with a warmth hard to explain. It was more than happiness. It was hope. As months passed, Jake changed, not just from what he learned, but from the people he met. Stories of overcoming, pain, and new beginnings, each one fueled his drive to make a difference. Not in theory, but in practice. One afternoon, Mark called him to his office. "Jake, we want you to join a special project. It's a pilot we're launching. We need someone like you to lead it." Jake's eyes widened. "Lead?" Mark smiled. "Yes, it's time for you to teach what you've lived." The project was an emergency support network for single mothers in vulnerable situations. The idea was simple: create support hubs in partner supermarkets. A gesture born from his experience. A way to turn pain into structure. Jake dove in headfirst. He studied, planned, built a small team. Soon, the first pilot hub launched. And to everyone's surprise, the first user of the initiative was Lily. Without knowing he was behind it, she showed up at the hub, now more confident, seeking legal support info. Jake saw her on the cameras, unnoticed by her. He smiled. It all made sense. Every step of pain had paved the way to this moment. Weeks later, she found out he was responsible. She sent another letter. "Jake, you didn't just help me that day. You built a bridge others will cross. Thank you for not looking away." Over time, the project grew. Other states adopted the model. Jake was invited to speak at universities, meet with companies, inspire other young people. But he never forgot where it started, at the register, with a small act. After a year, he returned to his hometown. He passed the supermarket. It looked different, modernized. But the bench where he met Lily was still there. He sat for a moment, closed his eyes, and took a deep breath. Life had taken unimaginable turns. An older man approached, recognized Jake, and said, "You're the helicopter guy, right? I'll never forget that day. Made me proud to live here." Jake just smiled and said, "It wasn't the helicopter. That changed my life. It was seeing someone and choosing not to ignore them." By the end of that day, Jake went home, now with new ideas, new plans, but with the same heart as always. The one that knew, sometimes, a simple act of kindness can spark an invisible revolution. And if you're watching this now, maybe life is giving you a choice, and maybe, without knowing, it could change everything. So, the next time the world puts you face to face with someone in silence, listen with your heart, because that's how it all began.